Back to another episode of the Wolves Only Podcast, powered by JWFIT. My name is Justin Scotty. Welcome back. Wait,
hey,
where'd you
man.
go?
I had to take a little hiatus for 1 or 2 episodes, kids, things like that. But happy to be back. Very excited to be here today. Who we got? Who are we hanging out with tonight?
What's up, guys? My name is Poole Berens, also known as the Beard Man.
Hell yeah, you are. And now I have a question. I guess I really want to get. I really want to.
I have no idea. I've been trying to figure that out the past 8 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little on the nose.
Obviously, though, it's like today we have like Scotty is like baby beard. I'm like mama beard, and you're like daddy beard.
Yeah.
Yep. This isn't even a short joke, but I feel like I should be offended, but I'm going to go with it. I'm going to run with that.
Yeah.
I like it.
Scotty, if you haven't noticed lately, I've been laying off the short jokes.
It's okay. I'm okay with it. It's okay.
I know you are. It has nothing to do with your feelings.
It's your feelings. Internally, you've been compartmentalizing this, and it's destroying you inside that you have said these things to me.
I know. I just think to myself, like, why can't you just be taller? And I feel like if I keep putting you down with the short jokes, you're just getting shorter.
No, robot knees could do that. So
robot
knees. Anywho.
Oh, so let's just kind of jump right into this, because one thing that I'm really stoked about is obviously you are the shit. I love you to death. Met you. You came out. You flew out here. You had prior engagements. We don't need to talk about what the engagements were, but you had prior engagements to do something else in Orange County, and you canceled them all to hang out with the likes of me and Dane. And we had a wonderful night. We had a beautiful dinner at where were we? Mastro's. We went to Mastro's.
Yeah.
With the shitty knives. They have the worst knives. For being in an upscale steakhouse, their knives suck. But anyways, that's not what we're not here to talk about. We can have another podcast about Mastro's knives. But here's the thing. There's a lot of interesting things about you. But you're writing a book. And I want to get right into the book because I've learned about you, and I know that this is like a what do you call it? Like not a biography, but like a memoir?
Autobiography.
Yeah, it's kind of like a self memoir, but it's kind of just my lessons from my story. So it's taking people through my journey of, working at the fire department for 14 years and leaving everything fucking behind and stepping into the fear of losing everything with my family and all that stuff, because I was the primary breadwinner, but taking those lessons and applying them to my story, but so that other people can apply that to their journey.
Love that.
I see.
That's great.
And we've talked a little bit about, well, not really even a little bit. We talked in pretty good detail about your history in the fire department and, how the struggles. And you actually enlightened me in a lot of the stuff that I didn't know about as far as the health struggles. Like, obviously, we know the imminent danger that comes in being a firefighter. We deal with a lot of firefighters in JWFIT. Actually, it's kind of crazy how many coaches of ours are firefighters. But it's very evident what the main danger is. It's fucking fire.
Right.
But the real danger.
The hidden dangers. Yeah. For sure.
You want to go into that with me? Or, I don't know if that's like something that you're passionate about, or because I know that you had a situation with a loved one or a close friend or something like that.
Yeah.
And
first and foremost, I'll say I'm a equal opportunity offender. So if I don't offend you on this podcast, like hit me up later on Instagram and I'll make sure that I get you covered. But I say that because, my history with the fire department talks or dealt with a lot of the dark side or the hidden dangers. And, first and foremost, these guys and these gals that And so I wouldn't want to, dim their light in the sense of what they do, because, there's a lot of guys that are still fucking passionate about it. It just happened to not be my story. And, the fire department, as much as it's a pain point or whatever, There were a lot of lessons that I learned, but it's always going to be a part of my story, no matter how hard I try to forget it or whatever, much like addiction and stuff like that. But yeah, I spent 14 years at the fire department. When I was 15 years old, I went to the local community college with my best friend. His parents took us there for career night. And that's where I found out about this idea of becoming a firefighter. And I was talking with the firefighters there, and they're like, hey, like when you're 16, bro, you can start taking college courses while you're still in high school and set yourself ahead. So it was from that point on that I'm the type of guy that, call it addiction or obsession. But once I set my target, I go after it. And so even at that young age, like I knew that's what I wanted to do. I mean, think about to when you guys were 16, how fucking stupid were you when you were 16, right?
Right.
Like,
yeah, I was
really
just going to mention that, to have that dialed in and know, like, this is what I want to do, and I'm going to actually pursue it, not chase girls and fucking party and do all, on top of that.
Yeah, and it's funny so, like, because that age, like even being a firefighter, like, you may have wanted to be a firefighter when you were like 6, right?
Right.
And then you start to get older, and it's like that, like, and then it's like, well, I don't like, next thing you know, you're like, oh, I want to be in business, or I want to be whatever. There's a lot of, like, usually like that type of wow and pizzazz and excitement and all that starts to wear off as you start to meet chicks and you start to party and you start to plan your life up. You don't think about being like in a service industry like that. It doesn't really happen until a little bit later that kind of resurfaces, that's a possibility. That's at least how I look at it, right? It's like a young dream. Like, I'm going to be an astronaut, a firefighter. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden, like, you're older and you're like, now what the fuck am I going to do? And
yeah. So like, and it's a little bit like my story is a little bit different because I knew at such a young age that was my route. Like, it's a very paramilitary organization, right? There's no doubt. Like, I knew I couldn't get in trouble, right? So like I wouldn't go to parties and drink underage. Like I wouldn't do those things because I was so set on that path that I knew that was my path, that I knew to stay away from, doing everything that would, potentially get me in trouble. But like basically I turned 16. I started taking college courses at night after high school. I was getting college credits. I was getting high school credits. High school was fucking boring for me. Like it was nothing interesting. Like I made it through fine and, didn't have trouble, but I was so focused on that. I started absorbing everything that I could. But also too, like the entire fire service is so competitive. And a lot of people have like this misconception that it's not, because literally every town or city has a fire department, but it's very, very fucking competitive and you have to set yourself apart. And this was my way to set myself apart, was to start taking college courses. Ultimately, I graduated with 3 firefighting degrees, or whatever you want to say, in order to set myself apart. So
when you say, I don't mean to cut you off, when you say competitive, do you mean like between branches of fire departments, or just to actually get in general?
Just to get hired. Like, okay. I would take tests with over 1,000 people in the room. Right. No, and that's a job that you don't want the B and C average kids, right? Definitely not the D and F. You want the cream of the crop. So,
right.
There's testing, there's interviews, there's physicals, there's all these things that process. You have to take a lie detector test. You have to psychology test, like all these things. So it's a very competitive field to get into. And I was fortunate enough that, by the time I was 19, I was able to get paid to do it.
Nice. Now, dude, it's so funny, like, for you to list off, like, it's very competitive, right? You have to meet all these criteria and this and that. And like, because from my eyes, a lot of the shit that I see is like, there's a lot of guys and they're young guys too, where I look at them and I'm like, how the fuck did you get in? Like, how, like, so, like, how did, like, explain, do you even know, like, how does that happen, right? Because you have to pass all of these tests. Like, how the fuck does that happen when some guy that's already 280, 5'7" gets in? Is that, like, lack of people? Like, what is that? How is that?
So, this, Scotty, that is so much of my story, but it's a good old boy system. And as much as these fire departments want to say, we're progressive, we're this, the saying in the fire department was, it's 100 years of tradition or 100 years of progress impeded by tradition. So meaning like, these fire chiefs get up there, the leaders, and they say, we're progressive, we're doing this. And it's like, yeah, but then, okay, this chief's son just fucking walks right in and doesn't have to take the same physical that I would. And that is so much of my story because, something about me, like I despise the status quo.
Yeah. And, well, not only that, but now you're like literally putting people at risk and potential danger with no care in the world just to be like, this is my boy. Haha. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of fucked up, honestly.
Well, I wonder also like how it varies like county to county, state by state, obviously economics, like standing where they're from. I mean, you go into these towns that are, no budget,
volunteer fire mostly.
Right. I would imagine they would still keep some budget into the fire department. And an interesting fact, did you guys know that the fire department was one of the first socialist like mandates?
Really? I did not know that.
So let me see if I get this story right. Back in the day, there was basically fire insurance. Okay. Like you would have pretty much like a sign on your house that was like, if this house is burning down, the fire department comes and takes care of this.
Yep. I know where you're going. Yep.
Mm-hmm. And then what happened was some houses had them and some houses didn't. Well, what would happen is the house that didn't have it would burn down, and then it would set the house next to it on fire, which caused a massive chain reaction. So it was one of like the first things that they said the fire department is a socialist thing. I'm not trying to get political or anything like that, but that's kind of an interesting thing. Just thought I'd throw that out there.
Yeah, it's and you know what? Honestly, from my perspective, it's kind of ran that way. Like my biggest, like going back to the status quo, like the biggest thing is being a young guy, young firefighter who knows what he wants, who is vocal, and who is trying to do everything he can to be the best he can fucking be. Like at everything that I try and do, I try and be the best, because if you're not, what are you fucking doing?
Right.
And so, but it's looked down upon. Like I got, best, especially by the old guys, right? Like they're like, sit down, shut up, don't ask questions, put in your time, and you might get lucky. Like it's very, that's why I'm saying it's very paramilitary. And for a guy like me, I'm like, I'm trying to do all these things to develop myself as a young man and be the best that I can be, because we're helping people at their worst moments. And I was met with collision. I was met with, oh, you're just a cert collector, like all these old guys, right? Like, and the thing for me was I was searching for something, and it's really clear now that I'm out of the fire department and retired from it. But I moved around to 5 different fire departments in 14 years, which is essentially not heard of. And it's because I kept searching for something, right? And I would go to this department and I wouldn't be filled up, and I wouldn't be satisfied, and something would go wrong. And some of them were promotions, but I was clearly searching for something. And now that I've separated myself, the past 8 years,
Yeah, I can see that. I fit right in that category too, man. And that's why I fell into entrepreneurship, is because I couldn't shut up, and I had better ways to do things. And and when you're young, especially, no one wants to listen to that shit. You got big goals, big dreams, but their idea is no. You like just like you said, put in your time, right? Put in your time. Well, motherfucker, I'm not trying to wait. So so 14 years, obviously. So you moved around, right? You did that. So you're searching for something, right? But there had to have been the silver lining. There had to, obviously something was keeping you even outside of that search, right? Or was it just just full on that search? Because you had to have been, invested at some point before some turning point happened.
Or did it just turn into being just a job and just a 9 to 5?
Right.
Yeah, and at some point it definitely did, and I'm not the type of guy to half-ass stuff. Like, so even though I was unhappy, like I still did the best job that I could. I mean, I was still, in my eyes, I was outperforming my coworkers that were getting promoted above me. Guys, again, going back to the good old boy club, I got passed up for 3 promotions between the years of 2016 and 2017, all of which I was qualified for. I had all the degrees, I had all the time, I had all the certs, I had all the things, and they fucking give it to a guy who hadn't passed a physical in 5 years, who's clearly not in shape in any shape or form. He was in my division because they pulled him off the truck to, they were going to terminate him, but they put him in my division and they just fucking handed to him. And it's because he was a 20-year guy. And that's, that's the type of shit that I just couldn't stand. But really, so I left in 2017, May 1st, 2017 was my last day. And, but prior to that, really, Scotty and Justin, the catalyst was, probably the years of like 2014, 2015. And I refer to it as, this was the darkest time of my life. 2014, my wife and I talk about this in my book. The chapter is actually called More Funerals Than Weddings. Okay. So here I am, I'm 27, 28 years old. I have family members dying left and right, including my grandfather, whom I'm named after, passes on my birthday. And this is the man that brought me home from the hospital with my mom. And, just that, that fucking rocked me. My wife and I are trying to start a family. She miscarries at 12 weeks. So we're rocked that way. And then really the biggest catalyst that got me to leave the fire department was my brother, Craig, not my physical brother or actual family brother, but that's talking about. We end up doing a bunch of crazy shit, like fighting fires, just the two of us, which is not only unsafe, but it's definitely frowned upon in the fire service. But we established this bond, and in late October of 2015, he dies at 36. It's a line of duty death from cancer, because every state in the United States has what's called a presumptive cancer law, knowing that, hey, if you're a firefighter, you are exposed and highly exposed to all these toxins, you are more likely to get cancer. And, I'm going to do my best not to get choked up, even though this is such a long time ago. But, I was sitting at the fire station and his wife, Amy, called me and, she's like, hey, like, he has minutes. This is the last time you're going to talk to him. We know that, he can hear you. So here you go, talk to Craig. And I'm a fucking puddle on the floor in my station, just, telling my brother, like, man, I love you. Like, I admire you, but it was that because at that point, personally, as a man, like I said, I was in my darkest time. I was overweight by about 40 pounds. I was the sickest I had ever been. I had lost my sense of smell and taste for 2 years. Oof. I was so just sick and unhealthy. it was, and all the stress and all the bullshit that, I've shared a little bit about, like, it was time, man. And by him, giving his life, in the service of the fire department, like, that allowed me to start thinking differently. And it definitely made me pivot and go, this isn't for me. Like, look
Yeah.
at, I'm moving around. Look at the bullshit that I'm dealing with. I've worked my ass off to get all these promotions and certifications and experience and do all these things. And I'm getting passed over by this guy who's fucking obese, why, like, it just baffles me. But that is really what really shifted me to start thinking differently and projecting differently for what I wanted for my life.
Yeah. Almost that fucking just, utter shock of like,
Yeah, bro.
what the fuck am I doing? Like, and it always comes that way. And not just, in your situation, but in a lot of people's situation, I think we go through these motions over and over and over, and we make these same fucking mistakes, and we just think it's going to get better, and we think we can fix it. And then it takes something, astronomical like that for you to open up your eyes and go, fuck, what the fuck am I doing? Right.
Yeah.
And so do you think now, do you think that the story would have ended differently had that not been the situation? Like, do you think that you would have recognized that eventually, or do you think that you still would have stuck it out because you kind of had that ride or die partner? Like, how do you think that would have changed?
Yeah, I think, I've separated myself 8 years. I've been out. I definitely think that maybe had I received those promotions, I probably would have stayed longer. But
Okay.
I was definitely on my way out. Like, it was like I had that attitude of, I don't know how and I don't know when, but it's gonna happen at some point.
Okay.
Because like, I had moved to my hometown fire department and took a massive pay cut, but to be 5 minutes away from my station. And I was the primary breadwinner of my family at the time. And I think if I got those promotions, I would have stayed, but I think I still would have been, I had 1 foot out already.
Right. So it was kind of a means to an end already at that point.
Yeah. I think his death just accelerated it at a higher rate of speed because, we were in the funeral procession, and my wife and I broke off to go to a doctor's appointment for my son that wasn't born yet.
Yeah.
And so literally here, I'm like, I'm seeing this kid a half hour a day. And that's the other piece of the fire department is there's so much about control. Like, I was on call for like 10 years. Like, they're like, you can't have a drink. You have to be here in an hour. You have to do this, 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 and this, and this. And like, it affected not only me, but it affected my entire family. But, I was seeing my son like 30 minutes a day, and here I am, a new time dad. And I'm like, I want to raise this kid. I want to raise this kid to be a man. How am I going to do that? Seeing him 30 minutes a day and always running out when the call happens. And so, that was also a big part of me leaving as well. And then, dude, I mean, just like, getting passed over for those promotions, 3 times in that 1.5 year span, I'm just like,
well, you kind of had like the worst case scenario all dumped in your lap right at once, right? Like, you lose your friend, you're not seeing your family, your kid, and I fully understand that from, being in construction and working crazy fucking hours too. It's like, you try not to say it's true, but like you do, the distance starts to take place, and then the conversations get a little rougher at home, and those things all start to play a part. And like, and the fact that you recognize that early enough to not let it, destroy everything long term, like that's the biggest part. Because I think that's where a lot of people kind of, they can't hold on to that long enough, and they let it all kind of fall apart first, and luckily in your situation, it sounds like you kept it all together, but as a whole shot.
Yeah. And the thing too is like I said, I lost my sense of smell and taste for 2 years. I had 3 sinus surgeries in the span of 10 years. So I was super unhealthy. Like I said, like I was 40-ish pounds overweight. sick, I mean, losing your sense of smell and taste will, like I was depressed. I was fucking depressed. Like there's no
Yeah,
other way to
dude,
put it.
my wife that lost theirs for like a year and a half. So
Yeah.
same deal. Like, yeah, she lost hers recently. She just got hers back like 8 months ago, but she went through that
Wow.
same shit and it was
It's,
horrible.
it's, it's terrible. And so, but him dying from cancer, from firefighting, doing the same thing that I'm doing, him and I coming up in the same volunteer fire department, all of these things, I'm going, okay, I gotta pivot.
Yeah.
And so not only was it me thinking, how am I going to get out of the fire service, but it was also like, how am I not going to get sick? How am I not going to have the same fate as my friend? So, I start working out, I start listening to podcasts, and, it's like, it's so petty to think about today, but like, I couldn't even tell you how many times I was in my super. They're pissed that I'm working out at the fire station when I'm allowed to work out.
Right.
And here I am sitting in front of my boss and these guys who are bitching about it, who haven't passed a physical, and Paul's working out, and it's like, what are you guys fucking talking about? Like, what, like, why are we even having this conversation? And so that's the type of, that's the status quo, man. Like, if you're stuck in the status quo, you will not grow. And it's just like, so that piece for me was also moving myself in that direction to be a better man, be healthier, and do every fucking thing that I can so that my family, my fate isn't the same as my friends.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. I love that.
So you get out.
Okay.
And I know that you guys started a business. I mean, was that something that was already in the works, or what like, I would imagine you come out of a career that you've been into for 40 years or 14 years.
Shit.
Yeah. Sorry. Well, you have a long beard,
I have no hair. I'm not that old, but
no, 40. I don't know why I said 40. 14 years sounds a lot.
Yeah.
That's scary.
So, well, that's a great story. Yeah. Oh, dude. So that's a great story too. So, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I'm a spiritual man. I believe God works in mysterious ways. At this point in my career, I was a fire investigator and I was also an inspector. So I would review, plans life safety wise, and then I'd go out on construction sites, and I didn't know how I was going to leave. And I'm sitting there listening to the radio, which I never do. Like, I'm not a radio guy. I listen to my music in my work truck. I put on, Spotify or something. But the radio was on, and the largest home inspection company in Colorado comes on and starts talking about, building your own business. You can be your own boss, doing your home inspections, all this stuff. And I was like, oh man, like maybe this is it. And so, short story, I ended up going down there, learning about home inspections, how I can build my own business. And so that became the plan of like, look, I could do this. I was doing it every day anyway at the fire department. I would go to a construction site. I would snap pictures of the discrepancies or the violations. I would create a report and I'd bomb that shit off. And so that's exactly what home inspections are. It's just different systems. Yeah. And so that was the path that I chose. Was I was going to start a home inspection business. But the funny story is the fire chief of my fire station, I walk into his office and I'm just like, I'm done. And what do you mean you're done? I'm like, dude, we've had multiple conversations, and that's the thing, dude. I'm very proactive. Like, I had sat down with him. I'm like, Chief, like, I don't understand this. I don't understand this. Right. I still have the fucking new guy syndrome. I'm asking questions still after 14 years. And, no. So like he was aware, and I'm just like, look, I'm done. Like I cannot do this anymore. And I've tried to remedy it. I've tried to be proactive with you, and I just can't do it. And it's funny. He then started offering me jobs to get me to not leave. But the thing about it was he was speaking limited beliefs on me. He's like, you're going to ruin your family. You're going to ruin your career. You're going to ruin your life. Like, you're going to walk away from something. You're going to ruin your life. And, that was really hard because I was already fearful of a lot of things. Like I was still the primary breadwinner. My son's like a year and a half. My wife has her chiropractic business, which is really, really small. And I was so ready to just move on that I was like, fuck the fear, but the fear is the path. The path that I must walk is what scares me the most. And that's what scared me the most, was to leave a career of 14 years and go all in on myself. And so, you know, I do my resignation letter, I leave, and I start my home inspection business. But I ended up being really successful at that, but I ended up shutting that down in 3 months after I left to then go into business with my wife and build this health and wellness center, just helping people left and right.
See, let's back up just a second here, because look, we talk to people every single day that have a hard time taking a plunge on a job they've had for a year that they fucking hate.
Yeah.
Right? Like, think about the amount of calls that we've been on that have been guys who were like, dude, I'm just so sick of the fucking rat race. Like, you know, how long have you been doing insurance sales? How long have you been doing, you know, Amazon delivery driving? Like,
Yeah.
you know, and it's like, well, Amazon's only had real delivery drivers for how many years could you have been doing it? Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, these guys are like so scared to take a plunge and invest on themselves over a business that they have complete fucking control over.
Yes. Yes.
And it's like, it's time to take that big boy jump. It's time to, if you don't change your circumstances, you're going to get used to living in that fear and telling yourself no. It becomes easier and easier and easier. Just like anything else you become addicted to. You become addicted to the fear and to denying yourself an opportunity to grow. And taking it from somebody who left, like, you went straight out of high school into the fire department. That was what you were going to do. That was your entire thing. Myself, I was not all he ever knew. He's actually, Scotty's the only one out of us that was like multifaceted.
But yeah.
But still, like, he has 3 children. He is, you know, he was the only breadwinner for his household. And it was like, what, you know, how can you just dissolve a construction company? And Scotty, you had that construction company for what, 10 years?
Yeah, almost. Yeah, almost 10 years. And it was just, it was that leap of faith, right? Like, but I had learned that prior to, right? So like I had almost put myself in a position to have to force myself to do that multiple times in my past. So like this one was definitely bigger. This was the biggest one, hands down. But it was like I was conditioning myself over the years of doing it. So like now I understood fully, like, okay, like this is the big one, right? Like I talked about it before. I had to do all of this to get here. And in order to get there, there's gonna be a big ass jump, right?
Well, it was a huge amount of trust in him. It was a huge amount of trust in me. But either way, back to what we're talking about though, is that, like, you know, for you, the decision could be easier in some eyes, because they could say, well, the job was killing him. The cancer, the stress, the fact that he had he had such a ceiling placed over him based on seniority and good old boy shit. But the fact of the matter is, these people that are working these jobs that they hate, they are killing them too.
Exactly. And I love this conversation, and I love having this conversation with men, because here's the thing. Like, what do you think about? You think about the fear. You don't think about what's on the other side of that decision of being successful at whatever it is you may be pursuing. You think about the fear. And guess how many fucking fears that I had came true when I did that?
Every single one of them.
Fear.
Not them, really.
Yeah. No, I know where he was going with that.
I usually get plastered in the face with them.
Oh, well, no. The Amazon delivery driver. Yeah, the Amazon delivery driver trying to find my house. that he was on a call with us, 2 weeks prior and didn't make the move. So now he's delivering my my Nikes. Look, people need to understand this and respect this, because the level of risk is going to have a direct correlation to the level of reward. And if you don't take that risk, I want to beat this in people's heads. The more you deny yourself the opportunity, the more you deny yourself taking risks and growing, it becomes easier. Your complacency gets stronger. Your weakness gets stronger. And let me tell you something. It is like your fucking credit. Look at it just like your credit score. It is so easy to fucking demolish your credit score. Just don't pay your fucking bills. Overextend yourself. It is so hard to build your credit. It costs money. You have to pay your bills. It is so hard to build your credit. It is so easy to destroy the credibility to yourself. You're just applying for loans that you're never going to get approved for, over and over and over again, right? You're denying yourself. You're denying yourself. You're denying yourself. And then all of a sudden you're so pent up in fear that you can never advance.
Yep. It's perpetual. And then it is. And then the other thing is, when these guys may, and I say guys, but it's also girls too, but like when the guys that I talk to, when they finally, decide to rise, or they want to, start looking at doing that, the longer you wait, the more fear you're going to have. But they are so willing to sit in their current shitty situation, and their fear is so much higher than their current shitty situation that they cannot see past it. Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like, and I was a little bit different. I was like, I can't keep going on like this. Like something's got to give. And so, but yeah, man, none of my fears came true. I start this home inspection business, fucking brand new guy again. And I go in hard, just like I said, everything that I do, I go in super hard. I meet with like 30 realtors to figure out the problems with home inspectors. And then I become the solution. And I start to build pretty quickly. Like, I mean, not, I'm not, sleeping on top of money and stuff, but from the time that I left the fire department and started, I start building clientele, and I start getting jobs every day and all this stuff. And then
did you market yourself as like a very experienced firefighter? 'Cause I would have. Fuck, I don't know that he still does it anymore, but he banked
wow.
on. I mean, this is such a funny, not funny. It's an interesting concept, but it's the fact of entrepreneurship that people convolute and they make it so much bigger in their head. Find a problem, find the solution,
be the solution.
Be the solution. Sell yourself. Yeah.
Like,
and that's the thing,
this cat found the statistics about how many dryer fires there were, and he was like, "Oh my god, houses are burning down because of dryer fires. This is a huge issue. This should scare you." Had a solution, whether it was a simple solution or something that he made up, and the real solution was the normal solution, but he made up a solution. I don't know what his thing was, but it was his niche. He'd come to your door, scare the shit out of you, 15 minutes, $250 or whatever. I don't know his entire business model.
Number one sales guy.
Yeah, no kidding. That's awesome.
But that's what I'm talking about, though. It's like you look at guys who sell information, right? That's what we do as coaches. We sell information. We have a solution for people's problems, so we sell them. It's not fucking complicated.
It's not. Yeah, in the framework of that, like, no, it's not. Like,
it's dumb this shit down, because, like you said, all the fears, everything that you build up in your head, the walls, almost none of them exist.
Yep.
The only one that exists is that you could fail. Big fucking whoop.
Yeah, but that's with anything. That's
right.
Fucking everything. Right. Yeah.
Your business could get shut down. You could get laid off.
Yeah.
You have the same risk regardless.
Exactly.
Right.
Yep.
You know what the worst, and I think the most unfortunate part of all that is some people really truly will never ever see it, understand it, grasp it, change it. Never. They will just continue to do this and live in this whatever fucked up reality they have, and they really will never.
Yeah, I mean, you're exactly right. Like they'll never get past it, and I think it's really fucking powerful. Doing what we do as coaches is to help people try and get past that.
Yeah,
and we're not going to get everybody, but as a coach, like trying to get people to understand, like, look, man, are you willing to live this way for the rest of your life? Because we're obviously on this call, but there's a whole world of opportunity out there, and you only got one life to live. And I think that's another piece of my friend passing away. I just think, at a young age, I got hit with death so hard that I'm like, I got one life, man. Yeah. And I want to leave my family a legacy, not of money, but of how they can build their own life. And my kids my kids are homeschooled. They come to the business with me. As a father, I'm able to raise men and not these soft ass fucking weak men. Yep. And that's important to me. And so, my kids are learning fucking real skills. They're learning how to run a business. They're going to be the leaders of their generation, because
that's how it should be, right? We should be teaching them real life skills, not bullshit on how to be a fucking employee and how to take direction and listen and stand up. And so, it's so, it's so terrible now. And it's just over generations of generations. It's gotten worse and worse and worse. So I'm on that same page with you. It's great. Like, I'm able to be home and I'm raising my fucking son, me.
Exactly.
Even with my daughters, my wife is right there every fucking step of the way to make sure that we raise good humans to do exactly what we did, and, without making the mistakes on the way. Because that's ultimately how we start to correct
your family. You're setting the standard for your son on how to be a man, and you're setting the standard for your daughter on a type of man she should marry. That's what's, in my opinion, that's not what's really happening in this world today. That's why men are so fucked up and in the positions that they're in, because they let fear rule their lives, and they think the dad bod's fucking cool and all that stuff. And so,
because it's easier, right? That's the ultimate fucking definition right there. The fucking underlying to all of this is it's easier. It's fucking, they made it cool because it sold, because it was easily convenient for it to sell. It's fucking, the idea of it being cool is such bullshit, because I don't give a fuck. If you talk to any married woman or somebody that's been with a man for a long time, they're going to look you dead in the eye and say, I wish this fat motherfucker would get his lazy ass to the gym and look like that dude over there, because that's who she's staring at.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So it's
these guys I don't understand why my wife won't have sex with me anymore. I'm like, dude, you're a fat, hairy troll. Have you looked at yourself? I haven't even seen you with your shirt off, and I don't want to, but that probably has something to do with it, bro.
I can already tell.
Exactly. Is the Crocs of physique.
Oh God.
Oh,
right?
Dude, that's perfect.
It's
I love that.
Crocs of physique, because it's simple, and they're easy to get on, and they're comfortable. And Steve, you're listening to this, but they sold because they're simple and they're comfortable. And then that somebody was like, they're funny, they're cool. Like, haha, look at my Crocs. Yeah. Haha, look at your tits. Haha, look at your motherfucking buggy whips.
Yeah.
Like,
and dude, and here's the fucking thing too. It's whatever. You want to fucking not be ripped, not be jacked. Fine, that's okay. But to hide behind this mask of like you're happy and healthy.
Oh yeah,
eat shit, dude. Like you're fucking. It doesn't even have to be about being ripped. You're fucking worse off than fucking most of these people in your unhealthy habits. You're gonna fucking have a heart attack before your kid's grown up, anyways. Talking about you're happy and shit.
And what really gets me is, and especially running a health and wellness center that's holistically driven, not medically driven. We're holistic in everything we do. Is it fucking kills me, man, to see these families come in and you already see these kids that are 5, 6, they're overweight. They already have, quote unquote man boobs, or they have the gut. And I'm like, that's your legacy, man. Like that's the legacy you want to leave, is your kid's going to have diabetes at fucking 15. Or like that, like that's really what you want. You want the dad bod, you want the fucking easy. You don't want to do the hard shit, but that's what you're doing to your kid.
Right, and it's cute, right? They're cute. It's cute. It's baby weight, motherfucker. It's not baby weight. You feed your kid ice cream 15 times a day. Like the kid is gonna have health issues, man.
It kills me, man. It really kills me.
It's like during the summer. Last summer, I was driving, and I'm never gonna put someone's name on blast, and I don't do that shit. But I was driving. And like I look over, and this fucking kid can't be more than 11 years old, right? On his way to school, probably just downing a 2 liter of Mountain Dew. And this kid is probably 200 plus, under 5 feet, just already on his deathbed, on his fucking way. And sure enough, his fucking piece of shit mom is right next to him doing the same fucking thing, looking like the 20 years older version. It's child abuse. It's fucking terrible, dude. Yeah.
In Crocs.
And she's wearing Crocs. Yeah.
And she's wearing fucking Crocs. And she's got a fucking marble hanging out of her mouth. The windows are up. Fucking, it's how it's going. It's how it's going.
So, like a child in the 60s.
That kills me, man. Yeah.
Yep. We snowball that into fat dads real quick.
That's all right. But it's true. It's the truth. It's the truth.
That's the thing. That's the thing, guys. I was just
you can live a life of lies, or you can live a life of truth by design, and accept the facts of where you're at, and fucking find a mentor to help you. Like
100%. So you guys, Scotty knows this about me, and you probably hear it often from me during football season. I go in on sports fans every season. Ask Scotty. It's always been your bitch tits inside your football jersey. You're fat. I've never seen somebody who is in shape wearing somebody else's jersey. I literally walked around. We were in the club for a little bit, but the club got boring because I didn't want to be in a confined area with a bunch of fat drunk people. I've spent most of my life around a bunch of fat drunk people. I know what that's like. I've been there. I've also been one of those fat and drunk people. So then we decided to take laps around the stadium. I don't really care what's going on in the game. I look at the score. Lions are winning. Lions are losing. Who cares? It's every one of them, and they're holding their children. And they're somehow managing to work their bingo wings or what do they call buggy whips while holding their child, managing to keep their nachos balanced and 2 giant Like that's the look. Is the two huge you stack them on top of each other like a fucking wizard staff. 24-ounce cans held together. That's the look. That is the modern dad look. Is they're holding their child, so they're a dad. But they got whatever their name on the back of their jersey. That's the same size jersey that the players wear with their pads underneath.
With their pads,
and they're busting out from their titties and gut. And then they have
the best part is you hear.
And the best accessory is the wizard staff of 24-ounce cans on top of each other. That's modern masculinity. That's the man. That's men now. That is what men look like now. And anyone
what you hear is this is an occasion.
Yes, I can. I've witnessed it. I went there.
You can. It's everywhere.
I went. Yeah. I saw the playoffs of fat fucking loser dads. The playoffs of them.
Yeah.
Now I can't wait to see the Super Bowl of it. But guess what? I'm guessing. I have this like sneaking fucking suspicion that
it's gonna be about the same.
It ain't gonna be any different.
No.
Yeah.
In the off season. No. Oh boy. Can't wait to see the off season.
That's why that's what's always fun to me, right? Is you approach that and you always get like, well, it's a special occasion. So like I don't usually have two of these huge popcorns. This is a special occasion. Like
it's
motherfucker, we can tell you usually have two popcorns.
Monday night football, Thursday night, and Sunday. And if I watch college on Saturday, then I have those two.
Yeah. I do watch the UFL during the week as well. So like, but like it's just, and it's always a special occasion. I don't usually eat like this. And they always want to indulge that information to somebody that looks like they actually have their shit together. Right? Like if I look at you and you got your shit together and you're having some popcorn, my immediate thought is, all right, yeah, going to the game, cool, having some popcorn, doing your thing, cool. Yeah. Like if you look like a fucking mess and you're like, oh, it's a special occasion. No, that is your life. This is what you do. This is what you look like.
Right.
Well, I told you guys I'm an equal opportunity offender, so clearly that's all three of us because we hit a lot there, Crocs and sports fans and But it's all great. It's all good. I choose to live in the facts,
If you get offended, sorry, turn the fucking channel and sorry you guys if that offends any of you listening, fucking turn the channel or fucking shape up and get your shit together and stuff.
Well, if it offends any of them, I have about 200 coaches at my disposal that I can just get them signed up on a nice program for. Because if it offends you, if something like this, somebody calling you out for being lazy, a piece of shit, a drunk, a fucking glutton, I got the coach.
And you are?
Yeah, well, you are. If you're offended by it, then you are that. Right?
You are.
Because anybody that knows their own truth, like if somebody called me that, I'd be like, well, no, I'm not. Okay, so I'm gonna move on and go back to the gym. Right? Like you're like, but was I that? Yes. And if somebody called me out on that,
fuck.
Well, actually, here's the thing I want to kind of segue into with that because there's so much of this. There are so many Goggins. You're lazy. You got a good job, but that's about it because the rest of you fucking sucks. But now they embrace it. They self-deprecate. They allow themselves to be that way. And what do? They just surround themselves with other guys that are fucking fat.
The same guy. Yeah, with the same guys. Yeah. Yep. You know what? I'm going to, since we're offending people, fuck it. So I'm going to segue. So, and only because like I sit in the sauna sometimes and in the sauna is always triathlete guys, right? And now my father was an Ironman. My dad did triathlons. It was in great shape, good with his health, all of that. But you always see these guys that are extremely unathletic. They clearly are at the bar all the time. And it's just like saying I do triathlons is like this fucking arrogant ass prick way of being like, oh, I can do what you do. But it's like, no, dude, you're not, because you're not healthy. You're not in fucking shape. You really can't, like, you're not taking care of any of it. So I always get like irked a little bit by people like that in that arena. We're like, well, I go to the gym. Yeah, but you go to an hour. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, you're just there. You're not really performing, right? You're not really improving. You're just showing the fuck up.
Well,
So it's like,
actually,
does that
it's
even
funny.
count? Like,
Scotty, you know how, and this is in Denver too, but in Grand Rapids, you have a lot of these guys that are into like cycling, right? Like they stuff their fat bodies, and they even have what they call, and they're called kits. They're cycling little outfits. Okay.
yeah.
And I got into this for a while when I was a fat guy. I went and stuffed my 350
I've rode
pound
many
body.
a bike in an outfit. Yeah, I've done this shit before. Yeah.
But these guys do like what's called the Bermuda Triangle. Okay. And they'll go from Founders down to Bells, over to New Holland, and they'll ride like 100 miles on these bikes, but the entire time they're drinking IPAs.
They're drinking the whole time. Yeah.
And it's like they get into it not as a sports hobby, but they're into it as a drinking hobby. It's like, but you're calling yourself an athlete. Like, well, I need the carbs. Right. Like, dog, you've got plenty of carbs. You could do the Bermuda Triangle about a 2 months worth and not eat or drink anything, and you'd be fine.
And you'd be okay. Yeah. You might be on your way by then. Then we'd start to have a little bit of a head start. But like, yeah, I don't get it. I guess, and to each his own, and I don't want to
100%
beat the shit out of everybody. To each his own. But at the same time, at what point is it like you're just, again, now you're in the gym and you're kind of doing these things, but you're, again, now just in the motion, right? Like, you're still not progressing. You're still not getting better. You're just like, so it never really fucking changes. Like, and like, I think so many people have this idea that like you get better, you progress. And once you find something that you like to do, you don't have to actually improve on it. Just the fact that you do it is enough to be like, oh, I do this. But do you do it well? Like, are you actually fucking trying? Are you putting something into that? Or are you just doing it to say you do that?
You did it. Yeah. Or to say, yeah, I was in the gym for an hour, bro. It's like, well, yeah, you're on the phone the whole time. But
right. What the fuck did you do? Are you accomplishing anything? Are you improving on anything? Because that's to me, that's just as fucking bad as the guy sitting on his ass watching Netflix at home.
That you actually say it like that.
100%.
I found myself, like, when I go through the motions, like, Scotty, you train with me, and you've trained with me under pretty much all circumstances, fucked up on coke, drinking in the gym, and you know how when I'm going through the motions, like just in the gym going through the motions, it's usually harder than most people ever train. But I've found that, like, if I spend a week going through the motions, meaning just my standard split and training, but then again, I'm still throwing up weight, I'm still doing shit, but like, I don't break a sweat. I feel deflated the next week, and it's like I need to push myself to that limit. And the problem is that mindset is so hard to adopt. It's honestly, you can't adopt it. You have to put yourself in such a fucked up situation constantly, to where where it pisses you off. You like to have that champion mindset to where it's like never enough and you're not doing enough and you beat yourself up about it. That's why when you said, I don't want to beat everybody up because that like to each their own. Fuck to each their own. Be better. Be better or die mediocre.
I agree with you there.
And it's like we've talked about this before. I do not believe anybody is happy with average. They're okay with being average, but and it's like you have like the two sides of the spectrum. You have when parents would go to parent teacher conference, the teacher had two options to tell the parent. Okay. Your child's brilliant, they do amazing, or what's the other thing that they say?
Your child's failing miserably and they need work.
Oh, well, maybe that's what they said about you.
That's what they said about me.
This is what they say. Well, then there's the third, but there's two options. Your child's doing fantastic, they're brilliant, or the other one is this: your child's not living up to their potential.
Yeah.
Your child's not living up to their potential. And it was, even if they were just doing just okay, if they were B and C students, if they were even D students or failing out miserably, most teachers, okay, and then coaches and people, like most people who are going to try to make the best out of somebody, and it starts really in adolescence with teachers, they want to see their students succeed. That's what they're paid to do. But that's why they got into teaching. You would hope that that's why they got into teaching. So when they see a child who's flunking out miserably, they know why. They're distracted. They're class clowns. They're goons. They're outside of class. They're fucking around. They don't do their homework. They're not living up to their potential. So these kids ignore it. They don't give a fuck, but that goes into their adult life. And they're not living up to their potential. So in their head, they've been told this their entire life, that they have the potential to be more, but they accepted it since childhood, or they resisted it, or like we talked about earlier, they got in this habitual mindset of comfort and ease to the point where they stayed that same way. But there's always that spot in the back of their head that says that they could have been more. So the reason I say I do not believe anybody is happy being average is because how could they be? The only way that you could be happy being average is that you have self-deprecated yourself so low to where average seems above your potential.
Yeah, see, and that, like, I have a kind of a twisted belief system on that too, and in regards to what you said, and just kind of above and beyond that. So like, I truly believe, especially with being average, like, no, you can't be happy. But I also believe that there is a major level of unhappiness even in success, and I don't say that in a negative way, right? Like, I'm happy with who I am 100%. But if you're truly happy exactly where you are, you will stop growing because you will stop pushing yourself, right? So there has to be a level of unhappiness no matter where you're at. Even if you are successful, even if you have it all and you've reached that ceiling that people think they can't hit, there's a level of unhappiness even there subliminally that has to be there in order to push you for more and for more and for more. Because what happens if you get to that point, right? You can never really say, I'm truly happy, because if you really were truly happy, you stop exactly where you are in that moment.
Yeah. And Scotty, I 100% believe that. I call it normal becomes numb. Like you reach a certain point in your business, right? Like, you're shooting for 7 figures, you hit 7 figures, that becomes normal. And then after a while you become numb, and you're either gonna drop down because you hit your target, but you got to go up and hit another target now. So that normal becomes numb for so many people that they either tend to stay there, or they sometimes they'll even fucking start burning stuff down so that they can build back up to that new normal again. And that's and again, I keep bringing it up, but like, it's the status quo, man. Like, especially in business, like, you're in business, you're eating shit 95% of the time, right? Like, like it's not glamorous. It's relentless. You definitely cannot fucking be average in business, because you will fucking fail.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You'll get swallowed up whole. And in any industry, you'll get swallowed up, and it's, and what you just said was so fact about being numb. And that's where it's like, when they say you have to dare to be great.
Yeah.
The shit
that's
brave.
A big statement.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a cliche, and it's so fucking lame, but it's so true.
Yeah.
It's very true. Yeah. Because nowadays, like, you're crazy. No way. That guy's out of his mind. That's not possible. That can't be done. Who the fuck, like, it's just, you really have to, like, be so outside of the box in order to, like, be great, to achieve this greatness, because so many people are convinced that it just doesn't exist.
Yep.
Right.
So you
or
really,
it's not going to happen for them, or, yeah.
Well, and 100%. That's if we go back to your story, right, where you could say, Okay. And you could say, don't take this the wrong way, but you could say like, oh, like I didn't fit in at the fire department or the different stations that I worked at, or I couldn't get ahead. I kept having this thing. And somebody could look at that and say, that's limited. He could have really done it, whatever. And regardless of the situation, understand what the outcome was. Whether you could or could not advance, okay? And no one's arguing whether you could or could not. You decided to take the ultimate leap. It wasn't a matter of pushing yourself further and further and further. You did that. You went down that road. You were there for 14 years. But you took the ultimate leap to be great. You probably would have had a brilliant pension built up. You probably would have had all the things that you would need, right, to survive the rest of your life and live a really nice life that, from what I understand, some of these guys that retire out of the department, okay, but you dared to be great. So when somebody would say like, well, you could still do this, still do that. Well, you didn't look at it with a limited mindset. You didn't look at it with the limited beliefs. You just went in and you jumped.
Yeah. And it's almost going back to exactly what we were just talking about. Like I wasn't being fulfilled. Like how many men do we talk to every day that aren't fulfilled or satisfied? Like, so
all of them.
I wasn't fulfilled. Yeah. All of them, all of us, like we're not on some pedestal because, to a certain extent, you're not satisfied. And so, and like I had two choices, right? Like I'm going to sit here and my health is going to continue to get worse. Who knows what's going to happen to me? What's going to happen to my family? I'm going to get passed up for another promotion. I got to deal with Tweedledee and Tweedledum over here that I work with every day. Or I can bet and go all in on myself, which is what I did. And it's funny you bring up pension because that's kind of where we left off. So I did the home inspection business for 3 months, and my wife came to me and she said, I want you to shut that down and I want you to come work with me. Let's build a health and wellness center, helping people transform their health, and let's do it as a family. And so at this point, I was like, I just spent all this money to get this home inspection business up and running. We obviously weren't as wealthy as we are now then. And the only option was to cash out my pension. And that's what we did. I paid the government a shit ton of fucking taxes. I cashed out my pension. And that is what funded us to open up our wellness center that we operate today. And it just goes back to like the decision that I made to leave the fire department has led me to be the man that is sitting in front of you guys today. Like I was literally just at our new space. Like we just tripled our square footage in our space. We're going from 2,000 square feet to 6,000 square feet. And a lot of that resided on the decision for me to fucking leave.
Right.
And that's what I'm saying is like, these people focus on the fear. They don't focus on what is possible for their fucking life, for their family's life, for that feeling of greatness, that feeling to be great, the pursuit, the path to be great and live a life. And I call it by design. Like I'm living a life by my design as much as I can control. If I don't want to go in the office and stay home with my boys, I get to do that. Yep. Or, we head to Hawaii next week. Like that is what, to me, like leaving a legacy for my kids, living the life that I want to live, and I'm so fucking thankful that I made that decision and I started going down that path that led us to who I am today.
Let me ask you something.
And that's great.
That came right to mind. I love that. But let's just quickly bring it back a second. Okay. You're like me. You're like Scotty. If it doesn't, let's just talk like this. If it doesn't work. Okay. If it doesn't work, right? You were a 14-year veteran, let's say, in the fire department. You always have the fire department to fall back on. Right?
True.
You could always go back, right? Scotty,
you could.
You can bust tools out and build a house anytime that you want.
Yeah.
I can fucking trust me, I could get a job tomorrow if I needed
selling
to.
cars.
Owning a dealership.
But right. But what did I do the minute I committed to what I decided I was going to do? The first time I went and I tatted my hands, was right back in the showroom. Where I was going with this before we got interrupted was, we all have that mindset, that we all probably have thought about that mindset. Like, if it all fails, if it all goes to shit, we always have our professions to go back to. But what I would say is that if anybody goes into something like the three of us chose to go into with that mindset, you might as well just not do it.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to make a big boy, if you're going to make a big boy, big girl decision, you need to accept it as just that, a big boy, big girl decision. It's just like when you go in to break up with a significant other, or you go to, or you file for divorce. Been there, done that, all of it. But it's like this, okay? It's the same fucking thing. You break up with a significant other, you need to cut ties entirely, right? Like, you have to. Like, it's never going to work. And every 99% of the people I've ever talked to would say the same thing. It's just not going to work. If you like, trying to break it off and then get back together is very, very tough. It is. You got to kind of treat your career. If you're going to jump in and make a big boy decision, love me or hate me, but I just think that the minute you go back into that career, just like the minute you go back into that relationship,
never be the same.
Right. Yeah. Then you're left in perpetual misery. But people find it's like comfort is like we talk about it beating you down, making you weaker, but it draws you back in. In Alcoholics Anonymous, they talk about our alcoholism is doing sorry, I just tripped over my shit. Is doing push-ups in the parking lot. Meaning, when we go into AA, we understand that we're feeding our remedy for our disease, but outside, our disease is getting stronger and stronger and stronger every single day. So is your comfort. So is that level of stagnation. It's getting stronger and stronger and stronger while you're not working on yourself. It always is. It's always going to pull you back. Comfort is a disease. It's an addiction. It's toxic and it's life ending. You have to go in entirely. You have to jump in entirely. You cannot pussyfoot. The people who pussyfoot are not the 1%ers. They're not.
No.
Right. Yeah, and if you're not doing something uncomfortable every day, then you're stuck in comfort. Like, it sounds simple, like we talked about earlier, but like, you're not growing, you're not developing, you're not moving forward. You're just continuing to stay in the same thing. That's why I do a cold plunge every fucking morning. Like, I get up, I take a pill, I meditate, I journal, and then I go jump in that 40 degrees for 3.5 to 4 minutes, because it's hard.
It's hard. That's one thing that you got me on. I am not doing the cold plunge.
Yeah.
I lean on the fact that I can't fit in them. I was like, no, bro, you can get that.
I just walk outside. So in Michigan in the winter, you don't need a plunge. We just step outside. Like, you just take a shower and just walk out in your drawers and it's outside, and it's like you froze, you're done.
Yeah, but not only, there's massive health benefits, but for me, it's more mental. It's building that mental fortitude every day, because like, I go down in the basement where it's at, and as soon as I turn the corner, my body starts to shiver. And then I stand there and I look at the fucking thing. I take the temperature, and I have a minute of, I don't want to fucking do this. And then I say, get in, pussy. It's 40 degrees. And I get in. And then after 30 seconds, I'm good. Like, it's just building that mental strength, because so many people mentally are just weak. Like, you can talk about the dad bods being physically weak, but it's also the mental. Like, a lot of times I say the external reflects the internal. I know it did for me. Yeah, like when I was overweight, do you think I was looking at myself in the mirror going, man, you're fucking sexy or whatever. Like, no, I was looking in the mirror going, you're a fucking fat piece of shit, Paul. And it's just, that stuff is a mental, degradation of just not having that fortitude or that grit. And so, I love the cold plunge, but that's how I test
I need to do it. I thought about buying one. I was like, I'm going to buy the sickest one, because if I buy it, I'll do it. I've bought a bunch of sick shit that I never have even opened up. So I'm like, I know myself. I'm like, I'll spend 10 grand on a cold plunge and I'll never get in that thing. When I switch the shower head, I have the rain shower head that goes over top of me. And then I have like one that comes out of the side. When I switch that for a quick second, it shoots cold water. And I'm like, I don't want to. Yeah. I am such a pussy. Like, yes, I am a huge pussy when it comes to cold water. I do a lot of other shit that puts me in very uncomfortable situations. But that one, I'm like, I want to be a cold plunger. I do.
The next JWFIT event, we're doing cold plunges. We better have some cold plunges there.
Yeah, we'll get some tubs. We'll jump in.
That's funny because I did a vlog with Shane from Hopeaholics. And he was like, yeah, man. And, how excited, like, you don't know Shane, but Scotty, you know how like, yeah, baby, we're going to the cold plunge. And he's like, he's like, oh, and in my face. And I'm like, all right, bro. And he's like, we're going to do 8 minutes. And I'm like,
fuck you, dude.
and no, but like I got a cameraman on me, and I was really lean at the time too, so I was like, all right, I'm gonna take my shirt off and be on this vlog, and I'm gonna get in this cold plunge. Your skin gets really tight, so you look even more lean. And I'm like, that's an eternity. And he's like, Shane, he's such good energy, and he like hyped me up so much, and I made it through it. And I like then I got back in my car afterwards, and he's like, we're going to get sushi, and I'm like, oh my God. And the whole ride there, I'm like, fuck this guy making me get in a cold plunge for 8 fucking minutes. And I had to. It wasn't like I could it was
you can't bitch out.
I did it for the gram. I'm like, of course I had to do it. Anyways.
Oh yeah, you can't get put on the spot and not. You have to. It's a requirement at that point.
This was really fun. Paul, so for people who don't know how to find you, where is the best place for them to find you at?
Yeah, Instagram, so Paul and Berens, I say Berens because that's how people can kind of spell it. But Paul and Berens, Berens, on Instagram. And then my book's going to be releasing in February. And again, that's called Beardology. It's a really sweet name. If you look up the verb definition of what beard means, it means to defy and have bold resolution, which has been this story for my whole life. And so, it's not about how to grow a beautiful beard or whatever. It's more just about finding your symbol for the quest for your freedom, because that is so much of my story was, which we didn't even really talk about. But, when I decided to leave the fire department, I told my wife, I was like, honey, I'm sorry, but I'm growing a beard because I had to shave every day for 14 years with the 12 o'clock shadow. So I didn't care if it was fucking cool with all the hipsters doing it. I was like, I'm growing a beard, and I haven't looked back, but that became the symbol for me. Release date still pending, but it'll be released sometime in February.
Now, will it be available just on your website, or are we going to be available somewhere else?
No, yeah, it'll be available everywhere: Amazon, Kindle, Audible, and.
Are you reading it yourself on Audible?
I don't know. I don't. I actually have a coach. I have a mentor that's teaching me how to do that, and so we haven't got to that point yet because it's in editing right now, and I have a few people reading it for like flow and grammar and stuff, and.
I feel like you should get Morgan. What's his name? Sorry, Morgan Freeman. You gotta get Morgan Freeman.
Oh, do you have his number? Can we call him real quick?
I'm gonna get his number. We'll get his number. We'll get Morgan Freeman to narrate it.
Yeah, we probably have that connection.
Yeah,
bro, I'm so stoked. I can't wait to get on more of these with you and talk more about that. And I love your fucking beard. I love your energy. I love everything about you, man. And I'm so glad we got to spend that day and evening together. It was really cool. And you're just like us, and your heart's right in it for the right reasons. And you're fucking brilliant, dude. And I just, every time I feel like I get something out of our conversation, Job said it in our last podcast, the best. And it's like, when one person JWFIT, you're just a shining example of exactly what we want and what we see. Guys, listen, if you're listening to this, make sure you go go check out Paul on Instagram, and definitely when this book comes out, read it. Whether you're in the fire industry or whatever, it's just going to be a solid read. I know this dude; he's a solid dude, and he's got great information and great history. If you guys like this podcast and you like what you hear, make sure you comment, make sure you subscribe to our channel. We're trying to get a great message out there of guys who just have been through some shit, and they want to push people to do more and push people to be better. We're harsh, we're brutal, we're offensive. It is what it is. But at the end of the day,
we're JWFIT,
JWX. And this was great, guys. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
Hell yeah, man. Thank you, guys. Thank you for listening.
All right, guys, that wraps up an episode of the Wolves Only podcast powered by JWFIT. Listen, if you guys like what you heard, make sure you subscribe, make sure you like and comment, help us get our message out there. If you want to work with our team, go ahead and click the link in the description below. Schedule a call with us. We'd love to get you on. We really appreciate you guys listening. And if you have any other questions, you can reach out to us on all forms of social media. Thank you so much.